As a rule of thumb, if there is a segment that consistently generates between 8 to 15% of your room nights or revenue, it makes sense for a hotel to separate it into its own segment. What that exact percent mix may be varies property by property. The goal of focusing on each segment independently, rather than looking at the entire hotel, is that by understanding the consumer buying behaviors and segmenting them in an appropriate way, a hotel can maximize property-wide revenues and fill the hotel during need periods through appropriate promotions. Why don't we do an example of segmentation analysis of an independent New York City hotel, which, as an example, has 6 major market segments and 13 yielding segments. The transient segment is made up of everyday tourists and consumers coming in through a variety of different direct and sometimes indirect channels. You may look at this as one collective group, or break them apart as you have some early booking leisure customers versus other purchasing packages, etc. With this hotel, there is sufficient demand within one transient market segment to create 3 separate yielding segments: retail, AAA, and friends and family. At this property, you have corporate travelers who will be staying with you for contracted business. Normally, corporate travelers show little loyalty, as they stay wherever their company has them stay, but oftentimes are the largest beneficiaries of hotel point system. Contracts with corporate accounts are normally done annually, but are shifting to seasonal or over shorter time frame negotiation periods. The more often you can negotiate, the more dynamic you can be with pricing. With corporate travel, it is especially important to review production, especially on sellout versus non-sellout days, to ensure that you are negotiating proper pricing. Oftentimes you can negotiate rates per day of week and room types, which can help drive large volumes of incremental revenue if property revenue opportunities are taken advantage of through smart contract. There are a couple types of ways to segment within the OTA macro segment. They mostly have to do with how the transaction of money flows between the consumer, the intermediary, and the hotel. Generally speaking, you have 3 major OTA models: merchant, agency, and opaque. The merchant model with the OTA merchant model means that the OTA collects payment at the time of booking. Generally speaking, there's a contract between the OTA and the hotel to sell a base number of rooms. The usual commission for OTA merchant models used to range from 20 to 30% due to the OTA purchasing bulk rooms like a wholesaler and having more control on pricing and packaging, though they have since lowered commissions to between 15 and 25% as they now hold the rooms as options instead. Examples of OTAs that use merchant models are Expedia and Agoda. The merchant model contracts traditionally allows for large bargaining power by the OTA due to bulk control of the supply, can have flexibility with room types, and can package the room rate together with air travel or car rental. This model is not ideal for the hotel owner, as the OTA collects large amounts of revenue with little to zero liability. The traveler typically is not a fan of a merchant model, because when they pay first, then they need to wait to get their money back if they cancel. Merchant models have slowly been fading due to the comparatively better appeal of the agency model. Your OTA agency model means the hotel collects payment and serves as a merchant of record, and there is a commission per room sold, which is then paid out to the OTA. The hotel owner decides the final selling price and therefore has more flexibility with the guidelines the hotel must follow and allows for the hotel to dynamically control pricing. As rate parity rules globally start to subside, this will be the preferred model for hotels using OTAs since it enables them to control the net rate or revenue after paying the commission. Generally, agency model rates can't be packaged by distribution partners, which is ideal for branded hotels who might wish to create their own packages, but more problematic for independents who don't have the same capabilities. The flexibility of the agency model led to the rise of Booking.com and other similar intermediaries. Your OTA opaque means that the customer is bidding for a hotel stay like on sites such as Hotwire.com or Priceline, where the consumer indicates their minimum requirements, meaning cost, general location, and star rating. And the search gives you options based on price, but do not reveal the property names. The consumer can then purchase the room at the mystery property and later finds out its name once they have completed the booking. This is often for the least loyal type of guest, but is a very powerful tool to fill a hotel while not publicly showing low rates if you are in a high need period for demand. I will explain later in Price and Behavior, the chicken and the egg section, how OTA opaque models can be a valuable tool for hotels. The consortium is your different, or aggregate, major travel agencies. This will be for government, corporate, or personal travel agencies. Group can be divided into corporate, citywide, Smurf, depending on the type of group. Corporate group is a group that may need a certain amount of contracted rooms for a certain period of time, brought in due to corporate travel paid by the company. Citywide group would be a group brought into the property due to a citywide event. For those not familiar with Smurf, it is social, military, educational, religious, and fraternal, meaning anything from veterans to fraternities to sports team. Depending on the type of hotel and demand, it may be best to segment groups into more detailed ways. It is always key when evaluating whether to take a group business or not to do a proper displacement analysis, meaning determining the amount of business you may turn away in order to accept the group. When evaluating this displacement, make sure you take into account both group room and non-room spend versus non-group room and non-room spend to determine if the group are the right potential customer for you or if you would be better off to pass. Wholesalers are intermediaries who purchase large volume of rooms at once for a discount. Then they resell the room directly to customers. Negotiations happen annually, and contracts should be evaluated in details to get the best contracts. Example includes traditional tour operators such as TUI, Bed Banks, and Toureco. When hotels start to use wholesalers, it can complicate the strategy. After a certain threshold, it becomes very hard to shift that business mix as independent properties can potentially be cut off from a wholesaler's distribution if they negotiate too much. Giving away your distribution is giving away your connection with the consumer and causes a hotel to be commoditized. Wholesalers and OTAs can be great partners, and with specific strategy to ensure that they don't retain too much control of any contractual obligations. As a rule of thumb, the type of hotel you work at will dictate how complex your segmentation and distribution strategy should be. To highlight some of the best practices when it comes to segmentation by hotel type. An economy hotel has primarily transient business, not much segmentation, and straightforward inventory management. If it is in a desirable location, it may be heavy on wholesale or group depending on the type of property. Whereas an upscale hotel, on the other hand, you often have loyalty segmentation. You have a strongest case for guest loyalty through an emotional connection. So you can create more exclusivity through price or experience. Depending on the brand, you could be catering to a family, to a business traveler, or to couples. With resorts, there's more weight placed on wholesale and package, and there's a better insight into customer purchasing. Since many things are bought on property, unique packages can be offered. If you are an independent resort and you're overly reliant on the wholesaler for distribution, they can begin to own the negotiations for commissions and as a result, your revenue. City centers are most complex because you essentially deal with every type of possible customer. The OTA and all type of people coming for business, a conference, vacation, families, etc. It provides the most opportunity, but also the most complexity and usually the most demand with the biggest pool of customers. Most city center properties will be impacted by citywide events. Will you be a big corporate account property and do you want to shift into having more meetings and groups rather than preset big corporate contracts? Airport hotels deal mostly with transient walk-in. Corporate, mostly flight crews and global agreements, park and fly, and meeting guests. Similar to city center, but convention usually has more granular group segmentation, specifically to the convention. Oftentimes, the experience received at a hotel can be controlled by different operational strategies, as different guest has different layers of loyalty and value to the property, just as a corporate guest whose company has a corporate contract with Hilton to a one-night OTA opaque guest who has little care where they are staying since they don't travel frequently. A property may put extra resources to enhance the stay of a loyal and also more profitable guest relative to the higher cost guest. With a strong loyalty following, through loyalty segmentation and pricing, a hotel is able to maintain key relationship and can connect with the consumer more than if it was a guest brought in by a third party. Loyalty segmentation is a hotel's means of dividing customers based off some combination of a per stay spend and their total lifetime value for the hotel or casino. We will get more into loyalty segmentation regarding pricing in Module 4. From the operational perspective, no matter what channel or segment that the customer comes in on, it's the operations goal to make sure that that guest, one, had a fantastic time and that they would want to remember and to remember the brand. Two, we want to stay with that brand again in the future. So while sales and marketing and revenue management collectively drive the consumer to the property, it's really a two-way street because you need the operation team to enhance that experience once the guest is in the door in order to incentivize that consumer to come back. Operations are the key aspect of shifting customer behavior no matter what segment a customer may fall into. The end goal of promoting your hotel falls into two categories. Having high marketing retention, meaning your customer reacts to a sales and marketing campaign, or your customer becomes loyal and proactively books directly. Understanding segmentation is also a collective effort by the hotel. There are a few key things to take into account when determining the right segmentation for a hotel, which I will explain in the next video.